What it do, my G's? This is Glad Game, and I'm here with a Biomutant video. Now, this video will be on the update that will be coming to consoles in the next few weeks or so. I believe this update is already out for PC. Now, I know this game gets a lot of mixed reviews, but it's one of my favorite games that have came out recently, and I'm loving it. One thing of advice about if you're thinking about getting this game and you're not too sure yet, this update is going to change a lot of the problems that people said they had, as well as if you really want to get the full feel of this game, you have to make it through the beginning tutorial. The beginning tutorial drags on a little bit, it's really linear, but once the world opens up and you can travel, go to the hazard zones, talk to the NPCs, and just enjoy the world, you'll really start to enjoy this game. But without further ado, let's get into this coming update. So first things first is the tutorial area. In order to improve the pacing of the early parts of the game, we've edited dialogues to be shorter. We've also added more enemies and loot to these areas to better represent the experience later in the game. Added more enemy encounters, added missing loot and empty trenches outside Jagny Fortress, added item drop chance for Bunker 101 crates, updated best before memory to decrease the distance between the no-nos and the Pensai tree, removed some parts of out-of-date and best before dialogues to improve pacing, removed multiple dialogue fragments to shorten tutorial area length, removed some parts of Goop and Gizmo's dialogue to improve pacing, removed multiple camera presentations to improve pacing. So like I said, the tutorial drags on a bit, so they're doing everything they can to speed that tutorial up so you can get into the game and actually see why it's such a good game. Because I will honestly say the tutorial definitely does drag on the backstory a little bit long. Next is dialogue and narrator. Reduce the amount of gibberish spoken before the narrator starts translating. Added dialogue setting toggles for gibberish and narrator, allowing players to select if they want to hear the narrator, the gibberish, or both when talking to NPCs. Fixed narration and gibberish playing silently and producing an awkward pause when each corresponding volume setting is set to 0 instead of skipping the sound entirely. Remove the text delay animation with either gibberish or narration is disabled. Next is difficulty settings. Added extreme difficulty setting where enemy damage and attack rate is further increased. Now I'm playing on hard difficulty, and it's pretty hard depending on how you make your build. Now you can make a all tank build, all strength, all vitality, and just breeze through everything and spam your guns, just breeze through everything. But I made an intellect and agility build, so my strength and vitality was pretty low starting, so it's definitely pretty hard, but this game can be harder. So if I'm still playing, if I haven't beat the game yet, by the time the extreme difficulty comes out, I definitely will bump it up, and I do recommend playing this game on the hardest difficulty to also get, well, unless you want to casually play, playing it on the hardest difficulty will definitely give you the full feel of why this game is so good. Fixed difficulty settings not being applied for already spawned enemies. Next is New Game Plus. Now this game has a New Game Plus after you beat it, which I think is really cool because there is two ways to play the game. You can either save the world tree or kill the world tree. So if you go through and you save the world tree first, you wanted to be the hero, you can go and kill the world tree and see how that pans out for you, which I may do myself because right now I'm on the path of saving the world tree. You know, I gotta be a hero first, but I might go and kill the world tree later just to see what happens. Alright, but for the New Game Plus update, it's open all class perks for New Game Plus games. When starting in New Game Plus games, the player will now be able to unlock perks from all classes, which is really cool because each class does have different specific perks. Like my class is Saboteur, and their perks basically are around agility, around dodging and stuff, and I enjoy it. But I would like some of the other perks, like the Mercenary class that I got because I pre-ordered and stuff like that. So that's really cool. Settings. Added motion blur slider to the settings. Fixed so the camera setting auto adjust player also applies for combat is turned off. The camera will no longer try to frame enemies while in combat. Fixed depth of field toggle not being applied in dialogue. Next is items and loot. Increased chances that items found have level requirements closer to the player's actual level when found. Players will still be able to find items with higher level requirements, but player level is now taken into account. Which is really good because I found a level 30 gear set the other day and I was level 15 or 14 when I found it. I'm level 17 now, so I got a long way to go before I can even use that gear. And by the time I get there, it probably will be obsolete. So there's that. So that is a good update. Remove common item loot drops from high level loot crates. Reduce the amount of hidden items that the player will find from crates and defeated enemies, which I hate because I feel like I never have enough heals. But anyway, increase base damage from melee bodies. Handles and add-ons by approximately 5%. I love that. Reduce base damage from ranged bodies, muzzles, and grips by approximately 5%. Hate that, but people can go through this game just spamming their guns, and they really do want you to incorporate the melee into your gameplay. So it's a good and bad thing depending on your style of gameplay. Fix resistance stats not being applied for crafted gear when adding add-ons. Reduce gear add-on resistance and critical chance bonuses. Ensure the quest reward diver's helmet will no longer drop as random loot. Remove slots from all protective suits. Now we're on to sound, and this is people's biggest problem, I feel like. Updated melee sound effects across the board. The melee sound effects definitely needed an update. Updated mount sound effects. Added sound effects for Tri-War Trebuchet. Updated sounds when the player lands inside HQ after being launched from catapult. In combat, fix if shoe with abnormally high damage output due to consumable top mod applying meta damage multiple times during equip and unequip. Fix the ability damage not being able to inflict critical hits. Reduce Deadeye Sharpshooter perk damage multiplier from 2.0 to 1.25 to ensure that it is comparable to other perks. Disable inner combat slow motion camera for short combat scenarios. Adjust the violent angles for combat targets to reduce camera movement in combat. Disable camera look at when striking characters up in the air. Fix the few cases where air striking will not complete its last attack. Adjust the speed of some enemy grabs is now a bit easier to dodge them in time. Yes, because those enemy grabs that you'll get in, and because these enemies really don't suffer much from stun lock sometimes, you'll get in near a Titan and he'll just scoop you up and body slam you, and that can cause you that fight. So I'm happy about that. Fix kick attack from smaller enemies being too difficult to parry. Parry window is now more consistent and enemies can be staggered out of it. That's also a problem. The characters with the guns, they will kick you randomly. Well, not randomly, but they will kick you during a fight if you get up and close to them. And when you're surrounded by enemies and you're trying to fight them, that kick comes so swiftly that it is really hard to parry. I've parried it a few times. It's not impossible, but them fixing that is definitely a good quality of life fix. All tribes, seafood, and Lupin in the final encounter now react stronger to being parried, allowing players to parry and then counter attack. Yeah, so a lot of the bosses, you will parry them, but they kind of nudge it off after you parry, and then they get back into kicking your ass. So that's another good update. Fix issue with tracking on Jag staff attacks. First 3 hits will no longer overshoot targets, and dodge attack is more reliable. Fix sometimes spawning double death particle effects on defeated enemies. Fix issue with Piku Nunchuk not stopping its animation. Fix larger enemies with melee weapons animating too quickly at slow walking speeds. Adjusted hit reactions for Morts to make melee more viable and satisfying to use. Fix issue with dodge shooting while reloading not moving the character correctly. Fix issue with airstrike sometimes being cancelled. Adjust the range for melee attacks to improve enemy tracking and reduce misses. Fix issue where melee gap closure will sometimes overshoot. Fix backward attack for crush weapons, resulting in miss most of the time. Adjusted animations for unarmed and glove attacks to be faster. Fix issue where the player will sometimes become stuck underneath larger enemies after being knocked to the ground. Added ability to slide underneath legs of titans. So that is a good update. The added ability to slide underneath legs of the titans, because I have done it before in combat, but every titan you can't do it to, and it just makes the combat way more fluent when you can. Because if you get close and you want to dodge their grab that does a shit ton of damage, and the legs are wide open, and you're a fucking mouse, you're the size of a mouse in comparison, you can slide right through their legs. Like, that makes the combat more fluid. You are a kung fu master in this game, so it definitely makes sense. Where was I? Fix issue where airstrike will cause enemies to be launched very far. Adjusted sound and rumble effect for successful parry to improve feedback. Fix issue when the player would sometimes get stuck inside the enemy after airstrike. Fix issue where the player would sometimes get stuck inside an enemy after a vault or leg slide move. Improved aiming for jumbo puffs when throwing rocks. And other than that, guys, there's just a lot of quality of life changes that are coming to the game. It's a pretty big update for a first time update to this game, but you can really tell that they care about the feedback of the community, and they really want to do their best and put some love and care into this game so people can really enjoy what they came up with, because they worked really hard in this game with a really small team. So, and I think a lot of people don't know that, but they really did. And I think with these updates, they are very well needed, because a lot of the complaints people have for this game are viable, except for the fact that the game is boring. I don't agree with that. I feel like if you feel like this game is boring, you didn't really travel the world enough and, take on the side quests and stuff. That's just my opinion. Other than that, though, it's just quality of life changes. I got this from the Biomutant Reddit, so if you are a part of the Reddit community, you can go and find this and look at the rest of the changes yourself. If you do plan on buying this game, I will say wait for this console update to come out, update 1.4, and you'll have a far better experience. You'll really love this game, I believe. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. If you watched all the way through, like and subscribe if you don't mind. I'll catch you guys in the next video.